Has everyone had an opportunity to review them?
May I have a copy? And the agenda, too? Thanks.
Do you need a minute to review them, or?
I did look at them at home online, but
Okay.
I didn't, again, not wanting to part with 38 pieces of paper.
Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion for approval?
Motion to approve. I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we'll go ahead and open up the meeting for public comment, and seeing that there's no one there, I guess we can actually move on to the next item on our agenda, which is old business. So I just wanted to talk a little bit, have a recap about the historic preservation workshop that we had last month. Get your thoughts and see if you would like to have another workshop, maybe with another theme in the fall, or just any comments about the workshop. I mean, I have a few too, but
I just assume the next thing we would do is neighborhood workshops. We had touched on that before. I thought it was just a matter of maybe scheduling them.
That's a great idea. Get out into the neighborhoods. Obviously, at that workshop I did see a lot of representation from Osceola Park and a number of interests. I know of 5 to 7 people now that want to designate their buildings locally. And I'm looking at Gail because I thought, is there any way for staff to kind of follow up with that neighborhood or some of those folks to facilitate? People keep expressing interest to me, but I think the process, not having done it, maybe is intimidating.
I haven't heard from anyone from Osceola Park.
Right. Is there any way for staff to reach out, or should we have, like Vicki Gould, who represents that neighborhood, contact you? Would you then help facilitate?
I would think that a neighborhood, Vicki Gould would be a good approach, because right now, we have very few people in our department, and it's really picking up, and
Yeah.
we just don't have the time.
Yeah, because I think there's a lot of interest there. So at that point, they are going to, come to you. It's probably going to happen.
If they come in, we can certainly talk to them.
Yeah.
We're more than happy to talk to them. I had one person come over from Royal Park and talked about the process, but that was the only person who came in.
Yeah, I'm aware of that person too.
We're more than happy to talk to folks when they come in.
Okay, and really help facilitate. It may even warrant a neighborhood meeting there too. So, and that may be the test case.
I was thinking she could probably accomplish the preliminary stuff at a neighborhood meeting, so
Yeah.
maybe she would be willing to call one just based on that premise. That, if you're interested.
Yeah, because I
being
see
among
this
the first.
stalemate kind of happening. I hear
exactly.
that staff, doesn't have time. The neighborhood's interested, but maybe they're not making that step to actually come in or call you. So I just want to see what we can do as a board to help just make that connection and grow our program. So that was my comment from the last meeting. And obviously that was, our kind of trial run. I think getting into the neighborhood is good. I also wanted to follow up on our idea. When Michael Zimney was here, he was talking about Boynton Beach and the planner there. And I thought maybe our next kind of workshop could be inviting that person. I have the brochure, so I think his name is Ed Brees. He's in the Planning and Zoning Division. But you might confirm with Michael Zimney, and I was going to see what the board thought of that, maybe having him come and doing a presentation at our October-November meeting.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay. So Gail's going to follow up on that. And then I need help. I think one of my weaknesses is the PR, the follow-up. I end up doing the planning and execution, but I know both Deborah and Deborah have expressed interest in helping with PR, and I'd like to ask you both to chip in with that from time to time when we have a workshop or like the survey grant, working on that publicity, if you'd be willing to.
Sure. Absolutely.
I'm thinking the best way would be for us to have a point person, whether it's Tammy, because of the sunshine law. I don't see us critiquing a press release here, and maybe you can work separately with like Tammy, or Tammy, maybe somebody you can come up with that could be the point person, so that if there's something technical they need to ask me, then that staff person can reach out to me and ask me, since you all can't. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess, Tammy, you would know some kind of procedure we should follow so that...
Right, yeah.
And you might work on different items,
Right.
obviously. But
Yeah, I'd be glad to be the point person.
Okay.
In between.
okay. Are there any other comments on that item? Okay, great. We'll move on to B, the local historic marker. I just wanted to update for the board that the City Commission did approve $2,000 for the setup fee and to fabricate 2 historic markers. One is going to be at the Heritage Center that we talked about, because that's a city-owned building. And what we also decided was, or what we talked about at the City Commission meeting, was having the other marker for the diesel plant. But instead of that, actually, because of that being embroiled in lawsuit and whatnot and being fenced up, we thought about leaving that particular plaque in the planning department as the model, because if we had the third one, we wouldn't have a date on it, and it really wouldn't be for anything.
I wondered about that.
Yeah. So I just wanted to ask, the next step on that is I'm trying to facilitate the rest of that process and to get some information to purchasing, I believe. And I wanted to find out from you, Deborah, if there's any details we need besides what we already have in providing a description to the other vendors as they go out to price. And this is the original, which everyone's had before. This is the original invoice that you submitted to us.
Yes.
And then I wondered if you had another picture that might be more crisp that you could send to Tammy, because I kind of pulled that off the internet.
Part of the unseemingly exhaustive, tedious work involved in getting to this point did involve doing a historical research on vendors and different people who could fabricate, not just based on this design, but just, all historic markers. And at the end of that, and even to the extent that we did try to have them done locally. So, I looked everywhere. This company has the best record, and they're the only ones that are capable of really rendering a marker that's going to look like this without just looking like, something that's been two-dimensionally stamped out of metal. So I'm confident. I've talked with the people at every stage in their manufacturing process that will create this, and I think they have a good understanding of what's necessary, and they've at least convinced me that they can do this.
No, and I hear you for that particular company, for Erie Landmark,
right.
But because of the public process, they have to
you still have to
get
have
2
them on
more
record.
bids. You still have to get 2 more bids from other companies, and I want to make sure you're confident with this description when they go out and them submitting this to another company for a bid, that you don't want to add anything, or do you have a previous description?
My fear here is that you're going to put this out to bid to companies that really do not understand the detail work involved in this, and then it's going to come back much less expensive, and then we're going to say, well, let's go here and save some money.
Well, what we could do is at least request then that the bids come back to our board for review
no
before
problem.
there's an approval.
Okay.
Would that be agreeable?
If you feel that's enough of a fail-safe, yeah.
I feel that might be our only option unless you have another.
I'm out of ideas.
Because at that point we could talk about it as a board and decide whether to move forward or not, I would think. Right? It's not going to move forward without our approval, correct?
I guess I have 2 questions.
Okay. I have the same concern.
Gail, with this company, the city uses them now, right, for other markers, if I understood correctly?
Yes.
Not done. That's what I thought. Okay. If are they on the record, or
The city is very happy with this company. It's just our procedures that we have to get to
so you
other
still need the
bids.
second bid?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I wanted to find out. Okay.
Yeah, I talked to Don Dexter, and he said that usually whenever they get markers, this is the company that the city usually uses.
So I guess also whatever criteria we put on it then, so at least it's what we consider a fair bid. So they would, apples to apples. So we're comparing, and then at least be assured of getting the best company.
Anna, I will go ahead and provide Tammy with detailed description and analysis of what's necessary by the end of the week, or
That'd be
by
great.
the end of next week.
By the end of next week? Okay. Yeah, because we're ready to move forward once again.
By Monday.
This is
All right, you did
no,
it.
this
By
is
Monday.
exciting. I think this is exciting.
Yeah, that's all right. Monday it is.
Okay, Monday afternoon. 5 o'clock.
I love you too.
Okay. Thank you all.
My pleasure.
Moving on to new business. Is there anyone who has any new business to talk about? No? Okay, we'll move on to planning and development matters. Gail, do you want to give us an update on how the
Sure.
grant went?
The grant was submitted by the deadline with 2 hours to spare. And
That's the way we do it here.
and they review, and if there's anything that's incomplete or lacking, we're supposed to get something in writing. Thus far, we have not gotten anything in the mail, so that's a good indication. They will rank the grant applications. It goes to the review panel, and they have a public meetings on September 1st and 2nd, and I had talked to somebody from St. Pete who is CLG, and they were saying how important it is to have representation at the review panel. And that's when that they'll be making their decisions, and Secretary of State approves the recommended list between September and October, and then the award letters are sent in June 2016.
We still have a ways to go. Now, I am going to try to get up there just because I do know how I've been involved with the grant process before, and I do know how important it is to have representation there. I think the state is more understanding than they used to be in the past because of the travel and the expense and the recent economic decline. So there's somewhat understanding, but it really does help when you're up there. So I don't know if you're able to go as well, Gail, but it would help if you
discuss that
if you could.
Yeah, that's what
Be there.
The planner from the St. Pete office was saying how important it is that they think that you have to put forth the effort to come and represent your project.
And especially we're coming in with no match and in that. And obviously, if one of you also wants to go, just let me know and we can work that out. Or I could back out
Beg
or
and
whatever.
mass.
Because we couldn't both be there at the same time. No. So just let Tammy know so she could coordinate with me or something. All right. I did want to mention on that grant, too, that we had great support. We had to get a number of support letters together for the grant. And we had Senator Negron, Representative Mayfield, and Congressman Posey as well, in addition to a lot of the local historic organizations and, of course, the city. So I was really proud of that. And I still need to get an email kind of blast out to McCash Park just to update them on the potential project. But seeing how the review panel goes, I could see us in the next year, having meetings, whether it's our board meeting and inviting them to come and talk about the future survey project. So
Curious, email blast, how do you accomplish that? Just with
they have a representative. I did discover because I did some research, and we did have a letter from one of the residents in the neighborhood, Dottie Childers, too. So she wrote a supportive letter for the survey as well.
And what's their participation in the email list?
I don't know. I don't know all the details, but I think it's fairly high. It's similar to Osceola Park where we have an email blast list. So I'm just kind of getting to know. I didn't anticipate that we'd be focusing only on McCash Park. I anticipated the grant would be for the city of Vero Beach. But because of the budget, we had to narrow it down. And luckily, I had done a lot of research on McKish Park, as I told Gail. So for the grant, that made things really beneficial.
And Osceola, I remember receiving little notices about, we're almost 50 members. So is that the number?
I don't know, but I can find out and get back to
I just
you,
wondered
the
how,
board.
How successful we've been in that.
How's it? Yeah, how many members they have.
It's vital to get information out somehow.
Well, that's a start.
Yeah.
That's a start.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions about the grant? Okay, moving on to Chairman Matters. I have 3 items. One, I know that we are looking for a new board member, and I just want to make sure that, do we have some kind of packet together for new board members? And if we don't, I'd like to work on one where they get certain items.
Well, we have the application that needs to be filled out, and online we have a description of what the duties are for this commission.
Okay. So I'd like to see, and if any other board members want to contribute, I would like to see new board members that come on, get the code of ethics that we talked about, that we adopted. And this is just a reminder, and also have a copy of the Secretary of Interior guidelines. And Gail, we can get nice copies of those with orange covers from Michael Zimney at the state, or from someone, he maybe not be Michael anymore, but at the State Historic Preservation Office, and you can have them on file in your office. They'll send you about 20 to 30 if you need them.
We have some, but I'm not quite sure how many.
So you may just want to give a couple to Tammy or whoever's going to put that together. I just want to make sure they get that initial information before someone comes on board. Is there anybody else, especially newer members, who feel like, boy, I wish I had this when I came on board?
No, I think it's a good idea to have a packet.
I got some sort of packet. I don't know. It was years ago. I don't remember what was in it. Is the site current with who we have now? The last time I looked at it, Jeff wasn't on it. It was, like...
Jeff's on it, and Stacy still is, so that name needs to be removed. But otherwise, it's, I looked yesterday. It's not current.
Yeah, it was, and now it's not again.
Right.
But it was, because I did notice it too.
Okay.
And if you see something, just send an email to Tammy as a reminder, if you don't mind. That's what I did, so... Not that she wants 5 of them, but I'm sure there won't be. I'm sure there won't be.
I need a reminder.
Yeah. Okay. Another item I had was I wanted to update everyone on my experience with the proposed cultural arts village for the Edgewood subdivision, and I do have a handout. I'm not sure how many of you have heard about it or read about it, perhaps in the paper. But there's some exciting news, and that one's for Tammy, and this one's for you. Go ahead and take one and pass that down to Jeff. For you. And actually, Gail, you can have this one as well. Sorry. So I was asked to give a tour because the Cultural Council of Annie County, this is their lead project, this proposed cultural arts village, is proposed for the Edgewood subdivision in Vero Beach, which is just south of Route 60 and west of the railroad tracks in the downtown area where the Arts District is today, that portion of 14th Avenue. So on your map, Seminole is 14th Avenue. I just wanted to pass out the original subdivision map for all of you because I thought it was pretty interesting. But that is the area they're looking at for the proposed Arts District. That's a rough boundary because it also is proposed to go further to the south into the neighborhood as well and into down 14th around some more businesses. But in any case, the City Commission approved the Cultural Council to work with Treasure Coast Regional Planning to have a charrette, and they've set a design charrette, and they set a date of September 12th. It's a Saturday, and I will get the details to you as they come about. but I was asked to give them a tour pointing out the historic context in some of the buildings. And I thought that was really exciting because they do want to embrace the historic architecture as part of the project. So I wanted all of you to be aware. And I am going to be, over the next few weeks, just working on a quick update for Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council. Obviously the survey was done in 1990, and I'm just going to do a windshield type survey that won't, because I don't have the time to do a full-blown survey, to help them have a base for some of the maps that they're going to need to create for their charrette. But I think it's exciting.
What are they planning?
What are they planning? You mean the Cultural Council in general?
Yeah.
How I understand, they want to encourage. That's part of the design charrette. The idea of what they're planning will come out of the design charrette. But what they would like to see happen is like live work spaces for artists. In some cases, they're looking at having a building for artist studios. But encouraging more of the type of development that's already started to happen with the studios there on 14th Avenue on a larger scale. But there, it's called cultural arts, so it should embrace a lot of the different arts. But I think the main thing is enabling artists to come and live and work in their residence in one building.
Really charming idea.
So, yeah, and I think it's very, very exciting. But obviously there's a lot of interest there, and there could be a lot of pressures on the historic buildings and the historic fabric there. And without any local protections, anything could happen. And they made one remark, which the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council representatives made an important remark. They said part of why this area people are being attracted to this area is because of the historic character of the building. So they recognize that right away. And they said, if you lose that, this isn't going to be that cool arts village concept that you're wanting to create. So obviously a design charrette, they're going to be talking about all the various issues and access and walkability as well, and design review potentially. But
So is that something that would change in the zoning?
Potentially, yeah. They could have recommendations to change zoning.
Mixed use.
Mm-hmm. But also this live work, right? Is that a specific type of
mixed use?
The mixed use lets you do that.
Okay, the mixed use does. Okay.
Right now it's currently zoned.
RN
Downtown.
1012, multifamily,
Into the neighborhood, away from 14th Avenue.
away from 14th Avenue.
And then 14th Avenue is zoned commercial,
Downtown,
downtown district.
yeah. And you've got commercial along 60.
I know there's one guy that lives above his shop already down there, Richie, the
And who you're talking
textured concrete artist.
Oh, does he?
I think he lives above his shop.
And I think they allow for that on 14th, right? Yeah, I believe
Well, there
so.
are
They allow.
Pocahontas apartments.
Right. They allow. Yeah, that zoning allows for it. Right. Gary?
Right. There's apartments above certain buildings.
It'll be a nice dynamic change, I think.
Yeah, I think.
Without changing it too much. Change for the better.
I think definitely.
How difficult would it be? I know we touched on this once before about restoring the street names. These are just.
I know.
Is that not just exciting to have?
Yeah, to give you some background, this was the first addition to Edgewood subdivision. Was the first addition to the town of Vero. It was developed by Hoosier Realty, Indiana, and that's why you have the Indiana Boulevard. But there were manufacturers that came in and they set up a hotel right where Firestone is today, and started that subdivision and put in the streets and sidewalks, and a few houses were built. When you walk around the neighborhood, it's so different from driving it. You really get a feel for the space, and you get to see the historic buildings that are still in existence. So I did provide them with some historic photographs as well to give them a good context. But it was established in 1916, and then a few years later, it just got encompassed, into the city in 1919. So, okay, I have nothing further. If any of the members have any items,
Yeah, I was absent last time. I was involved in a car accident.
I'm so sorry.
Couldn't make it.
No, and understand, and you're okay? Doing okay? No? Still recovering?
A little bit. I mean, I've had some accidents. I've had like 3 accidents in 4 years, so I've got some neck problem already. And so after the accident, I wasn't feeling too well.
Oh, gosh.
Luckily, it was just a pulled muscle.
Oh, good. Good. I mean,
We missed you.
All these injections and everything. So,
no, we definitely missed you. And that being said, too, I wanted to recommend, I don't know how everybody else feels, that I'm not going to be able to make the July meeting. So unless you all feel like there's business, or if Gail all of a sudden, I don't think we'll have time even if she gets a designation. It's summertime. I thought our next meeting could be in August, if everyone agrees.
yeah.
That's
Okay.
fine.
And that will also give Gail and whoever is interested in designating their property some time, perhaps. Because I do see, looking forward, I see September. Obviously, it's closer to that design shred for Edgewood, but I see us, getting together and talking about what we want to do for the year.
Preseason. So between now and then, should one of us reach out to Vicki Gould about doing a...
I've already been in
in-house.
contact with her, and she's interested in holding a meeting anyway, so we're in the process of doing so.
A designation meeting? Does it seem...
Well,
like a
we need a
designation?
meeting in general, and there's a few topics, so we'll just add that to the
So
list.
you'll handle that?
Yeah.
And invite Gail and Tim so they could present the designation program.
Do that.
Does that work?
I was
Because I don't
gonna-
know how that works with us. And I don't mind bowing out. Or is that a conflict if we both go to the same neighborhood meeting? Yeah, so I don't mind bowing out of that. But I can't obviously be there to describe the program, too. So you can with staff.
For that particular part, if you'd like, there's no reason why we couldn't do that either. If you wanted to do a presentation, and I would just...
Well, I'll tell you what, I would really like staff to start doing that anyway, because really they're going to have to work with staff. I can't be involved because I sit on the board. It presents an issue for me. It's a conflict when I start talking to local residents about their historic designation. That's what I'm finding out. So I kind of need to bow out a little bit. So it's really good.
Is that like saying, too, that we would need to bow out also?
You don't need a ballot at the meeting, but when we start talking to individual homeowners about their designation, then that becomes an ex parte contact, is how I understand it, at the designation hearing.
Yeah, you
So
just
it's-
need to be really careful when you're talking to them. If you think there are things that are going to come back to this board, be careful what you're saying.
That's almost like saying we need a representative to speak for us
Well, in a
on the
way,
designation program.
And it usually is the staff person. From my experience in other programs, it's the planning staff who is directly in contact and doing the education for the board.
Then I would like to suggest, and I've been thinking about this anyway, is some sort of almost, and I don't know what to call it yet, but something that's a little more user-friendly for homeowners. I was looking at the site trying to get some ideas because people have been asking about designations. So if we could come up with some sort of booklet that's user-friendly for the homeowner that staff would have so that when we direct people to them, then it's something that's a little easier for them to comprehend. Because right now, with the site, I think it's a little, I don't know that most people are going to go through all that. So I thought if we could,
No, I agree.
just make it more simplified, and then if they want to do more research on their own, they will. So that was one suggestion I was going to have. There's something else I was thinking. Oh, I was also going to ask about the whether or not Monty Falls could come speak to us one time about, you're talking about the signs in Edgewood, the names. I've had a conversation with him. It's been a while. The idea that you could put the current street now, like whether it's 19th Street, and then I think it's above it and smaller. I think that's how they did it. The original street name. So there is a way to do it, and I think he knows how. So I thought if he could come speak to our group at the next meeting and fill us in on that. And I think the city's already doing it in some spots. I'm not sure. So I thought that would be something he could address.
I'd love to see that move forward.
Okay.
So-
I can put that on, ask him to speak at the August meeting.
So to understand correctly, those who want to designate their properties, we have to be very careful anything we say to them, because of the fact that that will more than likely come up before us when they come forward to designate their property. and we need to direct their concerns and questions to staff. In a nutshell.
In a nutshell.
All right.
I would think we're safe in talking in general terms about the designation process, but any specific...
Which is why I like the
do you
pamphlet.
think my house could be designated historic? You don't want to respond.
How do you avoid that when people are requesting information, engaging you in a friendly conversation about this topic? How do you avoid that cloak and dagger feeling when you suddenly can't talk about it? Then it's like, then I think automatically that introduces like some kind of suspicious air that isn't, and I hate that, and I don't know how to explain it away. I'm not comfortable with it. I don't, we're not, I mean, it makes everybody suddenly appear to be a bunch of swindlers or something.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not thinking judicial group. They're thinking something is going on. I mean, I don't know how to not convey that when you can't.
I guess the idea
continue
that we're
with the
protecting their property rights is part of it. So, and I know that's thrown around, but unfortunately it's so. So I guess if we send across that we're actually protecting their interests, so we're looking out for them.
By saying, come with me.
Well, I
mean,
no,
it really is.
but and I think also having the booklet that I'm talking about, we automatically have, even if we had it on our persons, and I wondered if we could do that too. Here,
without saying anything.
read this. Then I don't know, maybe that might be.
I think, again, you can talk about the general procedure and process, but you may, when it gets into details about maybe a change they want to make to their building, or do you think this would qualify, you might just say, I can, explain to them, you can talk about the general process and tell them what to do, but unfortunately, I can't get into specifics because it's going to be coming to a vote. Your historic designation of your building will be coming to a vote. And because I need a vote on that, I'm not allowed to.
So
Get
general
into
things such
specifics.
as if a person says, I know that my house is one of the most valuable in Vero Beach. I'm not interested in designating because I won't be able to put AC in, or I won't be able to paint my bedroom pink. Then you are not free to say, of course you can.
You can let them know that the board does not
Those are fallacies. You can't
regulate paint colors.
Okay, so you're saying you can and you can't.
Yeah, that's the procedure.
You just all right.
I'm saying,
you're
that
saying-
would be maybe that's a decision for the attorney, and obviously there's going to be some gray areas, but that's why it's easier to be innocent or whatever you want to say, is to say, well, I can put you in touch with Gail Lafferty. She's the planner for our Historic Preservation Board, and she can provide a lot more details about the project. But I would think you can, tell them about the tax incentive, tell them about the program in general. Maybe. Paint color is one thing. We don't regulate paint colors. That's
I
just
just
a
threw that
fact.
out. That's a common fallacy.
It is a
Yeah,
common.
yeah, that's what I mean. Respond to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was my impression that we could not after.
Well, I don't mind if the board is all right with this. I've been looking at the site anyway and with questions people have had for me. I don't mind writing a few things and sending it to Tammy, I guess, for our next meeting. And we can talk about some kind of booklet we can put together for a homeowner.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be, just like this is the brochure from Boynton that Michael Zimney gave us. Is that what you're thinking? Something
Just-
like a threefold?
I wasn't even thinking pamphlet. I know we've talked about pamphlet before as far as information to the public, but I'm thinking about something a little more tangible for the homeowner that's actually thinking about doing it as opposed to just now getting interested or finding out. So something a little more like a workbook.
So a little more extensive.
Right, but not too complicated.
Yeah, see, I really think the only way it's going to happen is for them to work with staff.
But even so, I think if we had something that staff could use as opposed to it seems kind of broad at the moment. I thought if we could narrow it down.
To read, I think it's going to have to be something short.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, that's,
whether I'm calling it a booklet or a pamphlet doesn't matter.
I don't know. What does everyone else say? Anyone else have an opinion? I think it's a good idea to provide homeowners with information.
That's basically.
And if we need to do that on piece of paper, I think that's great. And you can feel free to work on.
Can you put information that, maybe on the website
Yeah.
frequently asked questions,
That's a great
That too.
idea, too.
and then you could have a whole section.
And it could be maybe what I'm thinking of could go in that spot.
And we can revamp that. I know, we talked about what was created, and we could revamp that. Maybe we just have 1 or 2 pages that we don't provide all the information.
There are plenty of websites for other cities in Florida. They've already done this to really in detail and to utter perfection. So I don't think.
Yeah, we're getting into more
we
detail,
don't
so
have
I think
to
we're more
labor
active, and
this.
I think it's just another step for us.
Sure. Anything that will, encourage and make it easier for property owners to designate.
So I guess on the next agenda, I'll just bring some ideas and take it from there, and then meantime,
Sure.
work with Tammy.
Sure.
Alrighty.
Sounds good. Any other thoughts, ideas? Any other work anybody wants to do?
Keep trying at it.
No, I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. And I'll see nothing. I'll just adjourn the meeting.
Happy July.
Thank you.
Happy
Happy
Sunday.